Welcome to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivey, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We research the effects of all role-playing games in all formats for their benefits or hindrances in education, therapeutics, entertainment, and leisure. We take what we learn in our community programs and put it through our research processes and then bring it back to our community programs to give us the best outcomes in the scenarios that we're trying to accomplish.
now. You mentioned the community programs. We've had a recent hiccup.
Yes.
With that.
So we have been for the last 6 years on the first and third Saturday of the month.
Yeah.
We have been providing free role-playing games. It's called Drop-In and RPG.
Yes.
And we were always on the thing. They loved us. We have statistics where we've actually lowered the crime rate in that town,
Really?
at least of during the one time period. At one point, Spark Central closed down all of their programming that was done by outside people.
Except us.
Except us, because we were actually not dealing with people that were just dropped off and abandoned there. We were also teaching good behavior to these people, and we were shown to be a benefit, so they kept us.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was like in the first year that happened. But due to internal
External. Internal politics.
internal,
within-
not eternal.
Yeah.
It's politics just feels like forever.
Yes.
But due to internal politics, where somebody on the board of directors / shareholders, because apparently they have shareholders for their nonprofit, they object to having outside providers for Spark Central.
Yeah.
So since we're a third-party provider, even though we're all volunteers
Yeah.
at Spark Central, we're on their list as volunteers, they have closed us out.
Right. Now I want to say that because I was there when we got the news as well. I still feel like Spark Central is a wonderful resource, despite us being pushed out. I feel like we had a good relationship with the staff that we were working with.
Yes, Spark Central is still a great place
Yes.
for you to, if you are in the Spokane area.
Yes.
Obviously, if you're in the Kansas area, it might not be the best option for you.
Right. Unless there's a Spark Central there, unrelated to the Spark Central here, that is good. In which case, all the that is
All the better for you.
all the better for you. That would be entirely coincidental. We're pulling Kansas out of nowhere.
Right.
Yes.
So,
We're going to be limited in how much work we can do with the community until we find another avenue.
right. Well, we're looking at, we can go to libraries, we can go to other community centers. Our personal community center at rpgresearch.com/community center is closed right now
Yeah.
because we did not bring enough money to keep it up. And now that we've kind of got the money to keep it open, we don't have enough money to do the training for the staff or
There's a cart and horse scenario that we're dealing with here, and we're trying our best to figure that entire nonsense out.
Right.
But in the meantime, we're looking for opportunities to take what we know and put it out into the community for good use.
Now, I am trying to get some funding through grants. I'm not a grant writer. And the one grant I wrote was, wow, you did a great job of writing this grant, but we're going with somebody else.
Yeah.
And so our next step is, unless I get a miracle in a grant, for $100,000, $150,000, we will be giving up the lease on the center, and we will go back to using the bus and the 2 trailers and traveling out there portably for everybody.
Yeah. And I believe that it doesn't immediately be, but I think that's a plan going forward for this upcoming year.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be like in January.
Well, December is where we are going to give notification.
Yeah.
We get to the landlord, and then March, when this thing ends, we will hopefully all be already moved out.
Yeah.
We're going to put everything in storage and set up back in a undisclosed basement.
Yeah.
And then we will continue our programming from there. The odd thing is when we're not tied down by this expensive building where we went from $5,000 a year budget or outlay, because that's how much we needed to keep going, we went to a $5,000 a month outlay. And so we're going to be saving 12, we're only going to be spending 1/12 of the money, and we can now go to conventions again.
Yeah.
We can start going to other community events. We used to go all over the area here. And then we got a mortgage or a lease, and it was expensive.
Now, I feel like it's important to understand the context of why we even ventured onto this
Lord Kanish.
This venture of the property. And that's because when we were running out of an undisclosed basement, we were having problems getting grants. And a lot of the pushback we were getting from the grant writing is, we would love to support you, but you need a physical address.
And
you need a physical place, a physical structure.
Yeah, that wasn't somebody's basement.
Right.
But then when we got into this position, the main thing they were no longer worried about was the physical location. It was DEI.
Yeah.
And I am 100% for working with everybody. And even the people that you normally would think maybe we wouldn't want to work with are the ones we need to work with the most.
Yeah. There is in theory, the concept of DEI where you are, bringing in a whole lot of different perspectives is very, very useful. Forcing that, and then, especially for the grant writing, demanding that you have proof of this X amount of diversity, that's artificial.
Well, and it is also a tracking burden. Now,
yeah,
I've been trying to argue back that we really don't have to ask every single person when they walk in the door what their DEI status was, that we can do it once when they join their membership and then just apply it each time.
Yeah.
But the fact is that we're supposed to be tracking every single person who comes in to show that we are catering to the right people.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how much it's possible to even really properly cater to that, because, and this is going to get into something that I think is we're going to be talking about in our Just Talking, is sometimes the people who are making dictates don't necessarily understand the situation that is the context of that implementation.
Right.
Hypothetically speaking, if you're in a community that has 99% Irish people, expecting that community to produce even 5% non-Irish is unreasonable. They're just not there.
That's true. And most societies don't have that. But the idea that we're supposed to meet the percentiles of any community, well, I don't know how. We're horrible at marketing to start with.
We are.
There are more people who live internationally that know who we are than locally.
Right.
And I don't know how to, without being ridiculous, say, we're looking for some hypothetical race and or physical ability. I need some people to check boxes here. we just want to open the door, and no matter who shows up.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to admit, when there are diverse people that show up, I get a little excited.
Yeah.
I get a blind person walking in that door, or I get somebody who is in a very complex wheelchair and has to have an assistant to it. I get excited because these are the people we wanted to support. I get a little less excited when they meet a certain racial criteria, but I still get a little bit. Just because, yes, we're here for them, and they feel safe coming in. That's all. That should be the only criteria. That we're open to everyone. And I don't know how to advertise to ask for, I need a Black Irish wheelchair-driven transgender.
But I'm not in a wheelchair nor transgender.
Yeah. See, we failed.
Yeah.
But we can fix one of them.
You're not crippling me.
You're supposed to be a team player here. Wait, I'm already crippled. Isn't that enough?
Yeah, but I mean, this is something that I've seen in a larger meta community as well, where Earth, you're not taking my kneecaps. No. When I joined RPG research, I understand that I'm a minority. I can check off a lot of those boxes. I'm not interested in a group that is looking specifically for a minority, because a lot of times that I've found, they're not interested in who I am, they're interested in what I can provide, and I'm sorry, that's artificial. They don't get to know who I am, and they don't care about what my perspective is.
If we didn't care about your perspective, you wouldn't be on this talk show.
Exactly. And this is one of the things that I've seen where, like, especially with RPG research, where for us, it's these things are supposed to be non-issues. Okay? It is, we have a diverse group of people who, no matter if they're, black, brown, or whatever, they have unique perspectives. We care about those unique perspectives. We understand that sometimes, okay, we're in a bit of a bubble, we're going to have to, we're in a bit of a silo.
We're in what's known as the gamer bubble.
Right. We try to push past that because we understand that there are limitations and try to find diverse perspectives. But artificially bringing you like, oh, let's find this one random person off of the street and ask them what their opinion is of something that they don't have any context for. Or specifically saying, okay, we want this, and another thing, without understanding that you can find a diverse perspective in a whole bunch of different places.
We try to do a show, and this gets into the casting and stuff like that. We didn't have to worry about fitting the actors to characters, because the actors would come in and create a character that they can emulate. And it was like, if you want to wear a fur collar as a man,
Go ahead.
but your character should have a reason for it. Well, I'm an Alaskan researcher.
Okay.
Well, okay, fur collar. Yeah, no wonder. You have whatever your appearance was, your character needed to match that. That was the only thing. Now, I put out an advertisement, and different people showed up for it.
Yeah.
And my point is that I did advertise that all body types, all levels of ability, for the most part, and all races were welcome. But that doesn't get me to have this perfect match of...
Yeah, a rainbow coalition.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get one of everybody or somebody that fits in 3 slots so I can check them off. I'm going to get 3 people that can do voice acting.
Yeah.
Or 6 people that can do voice acting, preferably 9 so I can have substitutes, but all that other stuff. And their looks and abilities are secondary. Now, My disability things I had things with is just whether or not their disability can be overcome. If your disability is that you're illiterate, reading your character sheet may be harder, and you're going to have to memorize
Yeah.
what we tell you, and it's going to be harder. I'm not saying I'm not willing to work with you. If you are in a wheelchair, I couldn't guarantee you a seat at this table.
Yeah.
But you know what I would do? I'd move the table.
And what I was trying to get at is I've seen groups. I mean, I've seen a bunch of different groups where they claimed inclusivity, but it wasn't. Okay. I've also seen groups where they're claiming inclusivity, and they're trying to make this perfect, inclusive team. And I've seen that where they're trying that, and they don't understand that when you're trying to force that, you're not going to get a team. You're going to get I want you all to work together. Why won't you work together? And
it also depends on the group and their okay. I have seen weird things at conventions, and let's take that back. I'm a literalist. I haven't seen it because I haven't been to a convention that does this, but I know these exist.
Yeah.
They have BIPOC rooms. Technically, I could go in.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to bet that when I first go to walk into one, I'm going to get questioned.
Yeah. And this is something that I myself, as a part of a minority group, I've seen firsthand. I've seen colorism in minority communities. It is a thing.
Oh yeah, you're not dark enough. You're not light enough.
Correct. I'm more interested in, the reality of being inclusive as opposed to the label of being inclusive.
Right.
Anytime I see that label, I'm wondering, okay, are you just trying to do that, and or do you actually understand how that works?
My idea of inclusivity is include everyone.
Yeah.
Including the people that need to be included so that they can be taught better. It doesn't mean, and I'm going to judge you on your behaviors. I know multiple transgendered people. Not all of them are great role players.
Correct.
Not all of them are good people. And I'm not saying that just because there are some transgender people that aren't good people. Every group has their good and their bad.
Right.
We have a problem of either we as in the United States has a problem of either grabbing the worst representation of a group and saying that is all of the group, or making stuff up.
Yeah. Now, I am not LGBT. I do try to be an ally, but I also understand that, and this is just me being in and around the LGBT community. I've seen some people who are like, "That's a horrible person." Are they LGBT? Yes. They're not horrible because they're LGBT. They're horrible in spite of them being LGBT.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't have an actual impact on whether you're a good or bad person. Right. Obviously, every single racial and cultural group, every single one, and there's no exceptions to this, has bad people.
Absolutely.
And has good people. There are good people on both sides. Ish.
Yeah. For me, it's when people make a big issue of these concepts that really should be non-issues.
Right.
For me, whether or not you're LGBT should be a non-issue. It is now an issue because we have a significant enough group that have decided to persecute them. That's the only reason why it's an issue. They shouldn't be persecuted. End of story.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I've said this a lot, and I know this is feeling like a tangent.
Yeah, it is.
But, and I shock people in the LGBT community because I say this. And I also say something else about race. But when I talked to him, I says, you know, you don't care what your gender is.
Yeah.
I don't care what your gender preferences are.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you want to sleep with me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not planning on sleeping with me, then your sexual preferences are irrelevant.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I don't care what you're into. If I'm not involved, it's none of my business.
No, as long as if you're not involved and other people aren't being hurt, yeah.
Yeah, do what you will, cause harm to none. The other thing I have is people say it's okay to say Black Pride. I disagree. I also say it's not okay to say White Pride or Yellow Pride or Red Pride, because that's monoclassing people.
Yeah.
You're from you know where you're from, so just say.
I am. I'm from Jamaica.
You're from Jamaica. You would have to admit that blacks from Jamaica
Yeah.
have a different culture than blacks from LA.
I would say that there is, because if we're going to go down this just hierarchy, there is like a let's call it a monolith of black culture, which includes like every Afro American, including immigrants in the United States, and they have a separate culture than Africans from Africa. But the immigrant community that is quote unquote African American has a different set of like shared experiences than the ones who were born and raised in America.
Right.
Then the Jamaicans, which I'm a part of, and I wouldn't even say that I'm a proper representation of that because I have my own individual things with Jamaica, have a different culture than, say, Bahamians or Trinidadians.
Right.
Or Puerto Ricans.
And and the gay community.
Yeah.
This really shocked a reporter I was talking to, who was a gay reporter for a gay magazine. And I said, I wish there wasn't a gay community. I wish
They're just a part of the community.
Yeah, I wish there's no need to have a separation.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why there is, and there's nothing I can do about that. But if I had my way, there would be no separation.
Well, it's a matter of we can't put that genie back in the box. Unfortunately, we cannot put Pandora's things.
We
back
cannot
in
close Pandora's box or put the genie back in the ring / bottle.
So now we just have to deal with the repercussions of it being released.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's get on to other topics because we've been on a bit of a rant. We found out that there's a less likelihood of the D&D movie being a sequel.
Right.
Honor Among Thieves.
Honor Among Things. There's been some reports that because they didn't make as much money as they should have, then they're, that's what gets sequels. Not whether it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Whether it's a good earner.
Right.
And, some people say, well, because people were already burnt out by the earlier attempts. I kind of disagree with that.
I mean, that's why I had trepidation going into it, but that's not the reason why I feel like it did bad.
Yeah, I think it was actually a good movie.
It was.
I enjoyed it.
I did too.
But it was suffering from, at the exact same time, Wizards of the Coast
and Hasbro
had this OGL problem, where they tried to snatch everybody's rights.
Yeah.
But
they had a bit of amnesia. They forgot what happened in 4th edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People slapped back, and the first thing they did was start canceling their
D&D Beyond the subscriptions.
Right. Yep. And once it started financially hurting them, they said it. But people were also saying, we're going to boycott the movie.
Yeah.
And we don't have actual numbers to say how many people didn't go to the movie because they were boycotting, But there was enough people saying they were boycotting that I bet the numbers, if we could count them, would be significant.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the people who are making this decision that, oh, the D&D movie isn't, doesn't deserve a sequel, if they took into account that there was a massive boycott on your entire company at that very moment.
Yeah.
That's going to have an effect.
Which was very unfair to Paramount.
Yeah.
Very unfair to the actors.
Yes.
And the writers and everything. But
wasn't there also like a strike at that moment?
Strike came later.
Okay.
The writers' strike and everything that came later.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still an unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah, and this is one of the issues that I have with, and I think I alluded to this earlier, where I feel like some of the people who are in decision-making positions can't always. It seems like to me there is a issue with many of the people being in this position having an inability to properly judge quality.
Right.
And this
they don't care about quality. They
Right.
care about dollar bills.
Right. And I mean, I have my own issues, but with this that I'm not necessarily going to get into. But I feel like if hypothetically speaking, let's say that you only care about dollar bills at the end, how much money can you make? I feel like if that's what you care about, you would want to know how to best keep getting money, and understanding that quality tends to have a higher return than just spamming quantity.
Wait a minute. Are you referring to the Marvel Cinematic Universe who just spammed everything and didn't realize that just throwing the name on there wasn't good enough?
Oh, that's just another example.
Yeah.
I can also talk about TSR on the end of 2nd edition throwing out splat books, and the end of 3rd edition throwing out splat books, or the end of I feel like with Hasbro throwing out all of these splat books were, okay, yeah, we're getting more content. It's not good content. I want less if it means the quality goes up.
Right.
Yeah, you have to be able to pace yourself.
Now, we mentioned Marvel Comics,
Yeah.
which brings us back to comics in general. enworld.org /thread/image-graphics-the-source-wintersea-graphics-novel-campaign.7068862. Why did I say all that loud? Because I sent the wrong link to our tech people again. For some reason, I keep getting the link of the Dungeon Masters podcast. The last 2 weeks is, it's there regardless if it's connected to the right thing. Cut and paste error. Speaking of which,
Yes.
you finally finished listening to it.
Yes, I did.
Give me an overall grade.
See, I feel like this is unfair because I don't listen to many podcasts, so I don't know what to compare it against.
Compare it against a radio show, television show, comic book.
So,
Just as a piece of entertainment.
as a piece of entertainment, I would give it a B.
As a piece of documentary.
B. Well, I don't know enough about the facts that they were omitted or did not omit or warped to be able to properly grade that. I will say this much. I feel like they started. I think they started off. I think they had a narrative with Dallas and the detective. Well, no, specifically the
James Dallas Egbert III.
That's the person who he was searching for.
Right, and the detective was Deere, William Deere.
William Deere. I feel like because we were talking about it in previous.
Because a William Deere promise is dear.
Yes, thank you. We spoke about this in earlier shows where we felt like the characterization of William Deere was a bit harsh, and I feel by the end, I see that they were working on an arc with him.
They got a redemption arc in there.
I wouldn't call it a redemption arc, but I feel like it was a he came to a realization. So there is an arc of him understanding his position and his relationship with his own son.
Okay.
And they could not have executed that arc without maligning him some amount. So there is a redemption of him better understanding his own son in that in the arc of this podcast, which I appreciated. And they did I felt it is a bit, at least from my perspective, a bit shoehorned. The pro LGBT, pro nerd, counter the religious backlash that was happening, because he comes around and basically points out that a lot of this was going on, and it is unfair to the community. Back then, I don't know how much of that was actually going on, but from our perspective, we could see that it was maligned.
Right.
It's kind of like, if you were going through, World War II, would you have known what side you would have aligned with?
All depends on what country I was lucky enough to be born in.
Not only that, but some people are able to determine that.
Yeah.
Some people, unfortunately, do have a problem seeing that. I don't know how many people back then knew that this was going to be a bad thing, or were able to communicate that properly,
or to have the critical thinking skills to separate one side from the other, etc.
Yeah.
So, Image Comics to release the Swords of Winter Sea graphic novel includes 5e campaign.
Okay.
So they're putting out a campaign alongside the graphic novel. Now, this is not the first time that comic books have been tied in with sword and sorcery. Now, this will come out in April 2025.
Welcome back, Nightbot.
Hi, I'm glad to see you're awake.
Yeah, Nightbot's been giving me problems.
And yeah,
today.
Image Comics, Go Dungeon Masters. Yeah, that's not the right one. It's on enworld.org. Just go to there. You'll find the title that I gave you, and you click on that.
There's user error. The user that has the error isn't Earth Holmes.
Yeah.
That's 2 links. That messed up.
One last week and one this week. And it's the same link.
Oh, jeez.
It's the exact same link. Dungeon Masters.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other one is right, because I went to their actual, see up there, pick your own link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lets you choose. I went to their link tree.
So,
All right. So, other examples of comic books: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness, Marvel superheroes. They don't mention the DC heroes one, but there's Judge Dredd, the new Marvel multiverse.
Judge Dredd is Image?
Judge Dredd, the role-playing game.
I
don't think it's Image, and I don't think Marvel superheroes are Image. They're just examples of comic book role-playing games.
Yeah.
Technically, you could call, because there are graphic novels of it, Mouse Rita? Is that the right one?
Mouse Rita?
Mouse Guard. Mouse Guard.
Yeah, Mouse Guard.
Sorry, I think I was trying to say the German version.
Mouse. It's still Mouse.
Yeah, Mouse Guard. Yeah, it's the Ritter part I was adding on the end, which is probably the wrong word. Or I could have said Mausjäger, which would hunter of mice. So the island nation of Ireland were at war for millennium until the humans of Wintersea and their naval strength to dominate the elves, dwarves, and orcs and declare all gods except theirs to be fake. Sounds right. They use half-humans and converts to spies and other races. Elven monk Omila and half-elf ranger Vander were unwillingly conscribed to join a quest to find the lost gems of the crown of Amantha, control of which will permanently cement the humans as the dominant force. The undead conspiracy they uncover will change everything. So, It's a comic book, which also has an RPG already attached to it. It's not the first time people have done this. I have a choose your own adventure graphic novel. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Don't sue me.
It's not Chooseco.
It's not Chooseco.
It's an
Interactive fiction.
Yeah.
That's set in a graphic novel format.
Yeah. Choosable path.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
Just not Chooseco, not choose your own adventure.
Yeah, just don't say that.
Yeah.
There was a show called Carnival Row. And it was all about fairies, and it was a steampunk.
You do love yourself some steampunk.
I do.
Yeah.
But I really love steampunk and fairies. That's the best combo for me. But they actually put out a role-playing game for it at the same time.
Okay.
We only got 2 seasons, but we did, and we never got any follow-up on the role-playing game. And it was free, so it was never actually published. It was just a PDF. But my point is, this stuff happens.
Yeah. Vampires are not always the correct choice, Hearth. Shall I bring back up Twilight for you?
What if they're AI vampires? Artificial intelligent vampires?
So the Nosferatu?
Nosferatu came well before AI.
I'm talking about Shreknet in Vampire the Masquerade.
You're trying to hurt me.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so the article I'm referring to from Bell of Lost Souls in taking a stand against AI, Chaosium joins Cobalt Press and others in taking a stand against AI.
Yay!
The only problem is Dungeons and Dragons, Chris Cox thinks that we need to see more AI.
Yeah, so, I am an artist. I have opinions on AI. Okay. Artificial intelligence as a concept is can be a very useful tool.
Yes.
It should be a tool, not a replacement. And what I've seen recently with the emergence of and the popularity of AI is there are many people who are using it as a replacement.
And worse is that when they're posting their AI replacement, they're not telling you that this is AI.
Right. So when I use Photoshop, for example, I sometimes use the cloud filter that is procedurally generated from a computer. Okay, I'm not creating for example, generated render cloud and calling that art. No, I use, for example, the cloud filter to create a
template.
How should I put it? I would use that effect to, for example, put it on a skin tone so that there's some blemishes on skin that I use on a larger project. It is not the majority of what I'm using it for. Okay, I can understand it using AI in, for example, the development of things, but don't, for example, say, oh, write prompt, write me a Dungeons and Dragons adventure for first level characters with 5 characters. That includes goblins and orcs and a lich as a boss. And then claiming that is going to work. No. Well, maybe using Grammarly to make sure that I didn't spell things wrong.
I'll admit, I use Grammarly.
Yeah. Okay. Coming up with the creative concepts? Nah.
Yeah, all Grammarly is doing for me is saying, yeah, you really shouldn't talk like a hick. Maybe you should use this phrasing.
Right.
Which is fine, because I'm coming up with all the ideas, I'm coming up with all the words I use, and it'll sometimes tell me that that's not the right word. Don't you know which you're supposed to be using?
Yeah. And one of the things that I've seen, and I have an issue with this, and I'm foreseeing an issue with this with Chris Cox helming, and trying to...
Hasbro.
Hasbro. In certain Reddit communities, I've seen, oh, they're anti-AI in terms of the generation of, homebrew content for Dungeons and Dragons, but they still use AI art, for their product. And no, don't use AI art for the content either, because one, you don't own it, and two, if you don't understand what is required to create it, then maybe you don't have a proper appreciation of what's needed to create it.
So I'm devil's advocate. What do they used to call the devil's? Brutes.
You're making a reference I don't know, so.
Well, for a while they stopped Tanari. So that was the D&D term for devils, because we weren't allowed to say devils anymore.
I thought the Tannery were demons, not devils.
I don't remember.
I thought the Bayatsu.
Bayatsu.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but to play Bayatsu's advocate.
Yeah.
What is the difference between scraping images off the internet and my cutting pictures out of a magazine and putting together a collage that is a new and unique art piece?
Okay, so I've created collages before. I've actually shown you a painting that I did that was based off of a collage that I did.
Right.
Okay, I chose the pictures, I chose the placement, I knew how to blend those things together. Everything was a decision for me. Okay? When you're scraping, unless you specifically say, I want only these things that I'm referencing, then you are not determining what you're pulling from. You're not choosing how things work together. You don't understand why they would work together. For example, one of the things that I've seen with some AI art is, oh, that looks weird. And when you have an artist that comes in and says, yeah, the lighting is wrong. You've got 3-point lighting when there's a sun there. You shouldn't be getting 3-point lighting.
Right.
Okay, that's why it looks off. But if you're not an artist, you may not even realize that it looks wrong.
Yeah, like the perspective is completely off. You have everything coming to this point, but this person.
Right. Like there's a picture that I love where, the joke is like, I don't know how to explain this, but the peas in this picture is upside down. Because the shading on the peas on this just one plate is upside down.
Right.
It looks off. This is very similar to, and I've spoken to this before, of Uncanny Valley, where you don't, the portion of your brain realizes there's something wrong, but you can't articulate what's wrong. And the closer you get to realism, the more likely you're going to drop into Uncanny Valley. And a lot of AI art is going to fall into that.
So when you know where you're scraping from, so is it permissible for Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro to scrape their own property? For example, everything that was written by TSR to this date.
Legally, I would say it is okay. I feel like procedurally, it is a bad strategy. Because one of the things that you tend to do, and I've seen this already happening with AI art, is they start scraping AI art and it starts to cannibalize itself, and basically you get inbreeding with the generation.
Okay, but when we're talking the written word,
even the written,
we're going to start having all those hallucinations and things like that.
Yeah, you're going to generate adventures, and the first generation is going to look fine to a certain degree, and then you're going to take the generated ones and filter that back into the system too.
Okay.
And just like with inbreeding, the flaws become more and more pronounced.
What was that show? He was able to copy himself. And each copy was worse than the first one.
Yeah. That's why I say the cannibalism effect.
We are going to be back in approximately 15 minutes. We've had a great conversation here. I hope everybody enjoyed it, learned to it. Yes, multiplicity. Thank you. But, count the fingers, look at the shadows, eyes, teeth, lighting, and it's the same rules for discovering whether or not there's fae.
By the way, and I was speaking to Hawk about this. There's a, as an artist, a lot of those areas that you're checking for to check for AI art are difficulties that artists who are training have problems with. They have a problem with hands, they have a problem with noses. Shading and shadowing is a pain sometimes, as is teeth,
Yeah.
and sometimes eyes. The same places that artists tend to struggle with, AI art is having a problem with as well.
We will be right back
In 15
in
minutes.
minutes, and we will talk about
Achievements.
achievements
Yes.
and achievers,
Yes.
and you'll know more about that once we start talking. Thank you.
15. Welcome back to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivy, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. Today's topic, we're still going off of the 3 pillars, and we're adding a 4th pillar to match up with the Bartle's taxonomy of
player archetypes.
Yep. I'm not sure I'm saying taxonomy, right?
Bartle's taxonomy of player archetypes.
Yeah, okay, I think I'm saying it right. But, okay, so we had killers.
Yeah.
We had socializers.
So we connected socializers with socializing, with the socializing pillar. We connected killers with the combat pillar.
Right.
We connected explorers with the explorers.
The exploration
pillar.
Yeah,
and
real obvious steps.
And this is one where there is an archetype in Bartle's taxonomy of player types for achievers, and you're saying that there is like this unspoken pillar in Dungeons & Dragons for achievers.
Yeah, the rewards.
Yeah.
The things you... So, how you dole out experience points, whether you do it milestone or number to number, whether or not you are just rewarding people in gold pieces and magic items, or do you get into more depths like social status or honor points, hero points?
The beeping, yeah, I think the beeping is the downstairs.
Yeah, that's actually a motion sensor alarm, and we have our security guard sets it off.
Yes. But we were talking about achieving things, and some people, unlike explorers, where it's the journey that that they're interested in, achievers, no, it's the destination.
Right?
Yeah.
They want to get to someplace. They are the Pokemon players. Got to collect them all.
Yeah, gotta catch them all.
They want certain things to achieve.
Yeah.
They want the rewards, and one of the things we're trying to say is that rewards could be just like me saying all the time. The reward is I stop. No, hey, at least it wasn't Anyways, rewards don't have to be always material objects.
Right.
They can also be like land, titles, writs of service, licenses to do things.
And I've seen this in some of the games that I've run and played, where I will hand things out and the players would love it, and then they end up not using it. I'm wondering, okay, if you're never going to use it, why did you want it? And I just realized, when John introduced this concept to me, it kind of clicked where maybe they're just collecting things, and I realized this is something that I do in my games as well, where I was playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I had...
Were you trying to get all the pets?
No. and this is completely dumb, but it's, if I'm going to play a game, I want to, especially a video game like that, I want to play it the way I want to play it. And I found out that I'm not the only person who does this, where I had in my inventory, in the traveler's chest, I had chests that I'd organize. They were basically trophy chests.
Right.
I just collect things, or like, oh, I know that at the end I'm trying to get to a certain ending with Karlach, and I'm thinking, what would I want Karlach? What would Karlach appreciate? So there was the letter that she had from her quote-unquote friend, where it was the closest thing she had to a friend in Avernus. All the soul coins that I only ever had her use one, which was curb stomping Gartosh.
I have never used a soul coin.
I'm not going to tell you what it does. But all the soul coins are in that box, and a whole bunch of other just minor things that I felt. All the infernal iron that I didn't use, all in this trophy box specifically for Karlach.
Right.
Does it affect the game in any way? No. I still wanted to collect them. Was I ever going to sell them to get money that I could use to enhance my game? No. And that wasn't the only trophy case I had.
Right. Well, Hearth Holmes says that he got all of the paintings for Karlach.
Yeah.
I collected all the stuffed animals.
Oh, Karlach, by the time I was done, Karlach had 4 stuffed animals. 2 stuffed bears that looked exactly the same because they stacked. a second stuffed bear that had the stuffing removed, and I got the owlbear stuffing because Carlac deserves all the nice things, so I got her stuffed bears.
But did you got the one of the stuffing removed? Is that the one you could put things in? Cause
There's one like that?
I kept all her soul coins in that bear.
Oh, I'm going to find that now. And this is achievement hunting.
Yeah.
Does it affect the mechanics of the game? No, but it is a motivation. More just to have it. And I've seen this in my D&D games as well, where I was using the playtest rules for Bastions, and for Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and Hearth was a part of this, and what ended up happening with the Bastions was, yeah, there was some mechanical benefit to that, but they collected NPCs. They found like, oh, we like, Bloody Toes. Bloody Toes did not like them. They adopted Bloody Toes against her wishes. And there were so many.
Is that ethical?
And they just like, oh, we need NPCs for. They needed NPCs for the Bastions, and they could have rolled up their NPCs. No, they found the NPCs that they liked, and like, oh, you're working for us now.
So my Saturday group has, they have ships.
Yeah.
And the main character, the leader of the group, is a redemption paladin. And so he collects the underbosses. If you show a lot of skill and he could capture you, he will try to convert you and say, hey, look, you're risking your life for this. And I think we could do better by you working for us, get a legitimate job, and still get the thrills you want. And he's trying to collect all the bad guys and convert them.
Yeah, that ended up happening in my Wild Beyond the Witchlight campaign as well, where I know that a lot of people have, for example, issues with the Agdon. I've seen online a lot of people had problems with that fight. A lot of people want nothing more than to see Agdon dead. In my game, they fought Agdon, and then they're like, oh, you want to be a mob boss? Let's have you actually support your community. And they started converting him. Agdon was one of those NPCs that group collected in one way or form.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are like, oh, you give the players an opportunity to customize, and they will start collecting things. Like the amount of places where like, oh, Hearth and and my significant other, they went into the hag's lair, and yeah, we're defeating the hag. Yeah, no mercy for the hags, but let's strip mine this place now. We're taking this, we're taking this, we're taking this. We're moving all of this back to our bastion, and Chucklehead,
Right.
who they liked, and they worked really, really hard to save him, and made sure that he maintained his personality, because I made sure that they understood that implications. Oh yeah, you are inheriting this entire area, and we're gonna set you guys up too. Is that going to affect the mechanics of the game? No. Is that going to affect the outcome of the game? I mean, yeah, it's the ending that they wanted.
Right.
They wanted to leave, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Prismere, better than they found it.
I have found that nothing changes the dynamics and the play style of a game like introducing property.
Yeah.
You give them a tavern, and suddenly they're writing up menus. One of the players actually built a 3D foamed layout of the entire tavern.
Give them something to invest in.
Yeah, they had surprisingly a lot of fun interviewing people for job positions.
Yeah.
Some people want that shopping montage.
Yeah.
Other people, like, we'll do this offline. I'll just make a list of things I want. But some people want I'm going to try to barter down that price.
Yeah, and for me, I admit I have my issues with the shopping episodes. If you're just buying random like stuff that you find in the PHP, we're not role playing that. Here, I'm not going to haggle prices with you unless it's important to the plot. Now, mind you, if I've made the mistake of putting a magic item shop in the game, then that one or a couple of times you can haggle that specific item. But from now on, it is going to be a plot relevant item as opposed to I need this item to complete my build.
So the best resource I ever used for shopping was from second editions. Aurora's Whole Realms catalog. Every object had a story behind it. I keep the prices the same. I don't adapt the bonuses and stuff that come from them because they're written for second edition rules. If I need to adapt something, I'll put it in there myself. But just it's so much more fun when you are looking at something that it's not just a thieves kit, but it's a thief kit with these items in it.
Yeah.
And by knowing what the individual items are can spark ideas on how to use them. The other thing that I have used that really made shopping trips exciting were like, I had a magic shop that every time you went had a different inventory. And you had to roll to see what was there. And then he would give you a description of the item, but not a full description. And you won't know how it works in real until you purchase it. So I know that I'm getting the sickle. And this sickle has wheat carved on the handle.
Cool.
And if you kill somebody with this sickle, they turn into a loaf of bread. And I tell you, the most ridiculous items, they found ways to make it used. You want to murder somebody? Use the sickle for the last blow.
See, I feel like I like that. I would want the type of loaf that they turn into based off of who they were.
You're pumpernickel.
Oh no, like if
You're sourdough.
If they were French, they turn into French bread.
They become a baguette.
Yes.
The other,
They turn into regional loaf.
and they had all kinds of so-called broken magic items, and they found a way to love them. One of the most used items, useful items, one guy got a throwing axe. You reach back, you go to throw it, and you get thrown 20 feet. The axe says put.
That's funny. That's
So
funny.
they were like, we're going to tie a rope to this axe, and I'm going to use it to jump. I got an obstacle. I got 10, 15, 20 feet that I have to get across. I'm going to use the axe to propel myself to the other side and then use my rope to retrieve the axe.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now, one of the things that I kind of realized, because there's one thing to say like, oh, your players want this, that, and the other thing. And yeah, and you could just spill all of this on them, but it isn't, I don't think that it's going to scratch the itch of an achiever. And I feel like those things that they're collecting all have a story behind it. It's so that they can say like, oh, this one thing that I'm not using, it's a memory.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had players do that. They have to take a trophy from every battle. Now, not in the ghoulish way, but in like I'm going to take a piece of banner.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a weapon. I'm going to take somebody's badge.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to be ghoulish about it. They're just something that will remind them of the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I have had people who collect pets,
Mm-hmm.
just like the other objects that other people collected, NPCs,
Mhm.
and like they're just going to get a menagerie. There are other people whose achievements are I want to raise in society.
Yeah, they want the status.
Mhm.
I feel like with those people, if there isn't a story of how they got that, even if it's not going to be useful.
Right.
Like I had one campaign that I was running. This was Tyrion of Dragons, where the player, one of the characters was a noble, and part of their story was they were looking for their uncle because their uncle was next in line. And I changed out one of the NPCs that they were going to find later to be their uncle.
Yep.
And that uncle was dead. And they found out, well, now that their uncle is dead, Will says they're now next in line. Now that position of power, is it going to mean anything in the game? Not really, but it has a story attached to it. It is now, they have the status now.
Yeah. Mechanical benefits aren't always the win all give all. There's boons and other things, but as far as coming up with a story, you look at people's backgrounds, and one of the problems I have, even though I use them almost exclusively, pre-written modules, is they don't have the flexibility, unless you're a good dungeon master like you're doing there with the character's background for the uncle and stuff, is tying the background of the character into the story.
Yeah.
Tying the individual goals people have into the story, because sometimes the goals are irrelevant to the story, because the story is going to happen the way it's going to happen regardless of what your character's personal goal is. And unless you're willing to add in additional story elements and or change the written story to match those background concerns and or goals, you're missing out on a part of what some of these achievers want. They want to achieve their goal. And you either need to, there's only three options. You can ignore their goal, incorporate into a written one, or you write an entire story around getting that goal.
And this is one of the things that I've seen, and I've seen it where I've played with a number of players who don't have a problem coming up with characters that have intrinsic motivation as to why they're adventuring. I'm going to include myself in this. My character's motivations don't always align with the story.
But when you're doing a 1st to 20th level campaign, I feel it's necessary to try to work that in.
Right.
Our redemption paladin is the whole module is him converting people. And the rest of the story is a happy coincidence.
So for example, I have a character that I've played a bit, and I know what her motivation is. This is my necromancer.
Right.
She wants to become a lich. I have planned out 1st through 20th level and figure out how she can ascend to lichdom in game terms, where the only thing that's left at the end is for her to become a lich, and not necessarily a bad lich. What's the likelihood of me finding in a campaign where I'm going to be able to execute that?
That's all going to be on the DM.
That's all going to be on the DM. And for me, that means I'm playing it, which means I'm playing my own character in my own story, and other players are in for the ride, and that's not necessarily enjoyable for them.
Well, see, this is where a session 0 happens, and then you're going to say, I need some time. We have the world written. But I need to take some time to incorporate. Now, it's really, you don't have to delay the game,
Yeah.
because at the first levels, first through third level, somebody would once said that is your backstory. Then that gives me a few sessions to incorporate and make alterations to the story I already have. The more sandboxy the story is, the easier it is to incorporate the elements that the players want.
Yeah. And this I feel is important to the concept of session zeroing, where I want to know what my players' characters' motivations are, so that if I can incorporate their personal stories into the pre-written module, I will.
I have one player that his motivation is that he's an archaeologist. That's his, not archaeologist, anthropologist. That's his stated goal. The guy is trying to charge through the dungeon for the mechanical benefits. Not to waste his mechanical benefits. So he's a killer pretending to be an achiever.
Yeah. And this is one of the things where, I've talked about it in previous episodes, where just because you're doing something doesn't mean that that's your motivation.
Right.
And for these, I want to focus a lot on the motivation of the. If we have achievers, we're talking about the motivation of achieving as opposed to the after effects of or the process of achieving.
Are you just collecting for the sake of collection because you're a completist?
Yeah. And completists are achievers.
Right. Are you trying to redeem everybody in your path because it fits your backstory and it is part of the story you're trying to tell? Are you attempting as an achiever to gain status for status sake, or are you trying to gain status so that you can accomplish another goal? I can only get to this person when I reach that status. Have you seen a cartoon called Spy X Family?
I love Spy X Family.
Okay, so you know that the motivation is to get the girl to get Stella's so that we can get close to a certain target.
Right, yes.
And this is gaining status to meet a different goal, as opposed to I'm trying to get status because I will be the best that there ever was.
Yes. And with Spy X Family, there's a whole bunch of different groups trying to achieve different things.
Yeah, it's very interesting that way.
And I love it. And for me, I know that this is going to be the end of Spy X Family, but the achievement is going to be the family that we found along the way. But I absolutely love it because Spy X Family is so funny, and I love every single one of the characters.
Yeah. The article that I read the title to, but did not want to read the article about Spy X Family, was about whether or not they will get a happy ending.
Spy X Family is not the type of story where they're not going to have a happy ending. Because it is, first and foremost, a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Lloyd will realize, at some point, they're all going to realize who they actually are.
No, that's the thing. I don't know that. Because the joke has been, no matter how absurd the situations that this family finds themselves in, the only people who really know everything is the
toddler and the
dog.
And the dog. They're the only ones who knows what's actually going on.
Yeah.
But you think that in order to get that happy ending, they need to know that they're both working on the other side?
I don't think that's needed.
You don't think he needs to ever find out that she really was an assassin this whole time?
No,
he doesn't need to find out that he was a spy.
I think it'd be funnier if they get the happy ending and they still don't know who the other person was.
Okay.
Because it isn't just Lloyd and what's the wife's name?
And she's a killer.
Yeah.
No. Silk. No.
It's a
Now I'm gonna
achievement.
Google this.
Yeah. It's the achievement at the end where Spike's family, each group is trying to achieve something.
Well, they all have their individual goals,
Right.
that do tie into each other.
Yeah, Yor and Lloyd.
Yeah.
It isn't just Lloyd, Yor and Lloyd that are hiding things. There's Yor's brother who doesn't realize who Yor is.
Right.
Or doesn't realize who Lloyd is. And then there is the
techie.
the techie kind of understands who Lloyd is, but the techie doesn't understand who Yor is.
Right.
And the underling, the person who Lloyd taught, doesn't know that the daughter's an Esper, doesn't know that Yor is an assassin. There's a whole lot of people who have these
And
major...
she, realizing that this is a fake marriage, wants to get in on this marriage.
Right, and she doesn't know that there's another person who is in love with her. There's a whole lot of people with very important things, and they have no idea the full context of everything that's happening.
Okay, so that is a question. It was brought up to how is this tied to achievers? Well, I think the answer is the happy ending an achievement?
Yeah.
Because just receiving an ending isn't always going to be a satisfactory ending.
So I feel like it depends on what you consider as the happy ending. You can have, so with Spike's family, you can have your happy endings, but did they achieve their goals? Yor's goals is to defend the people that she loves and to assassinate important people that are enemies of the people that she's been sending.
The Easterns.
Lloyd's motivation is to protect one country while being an infiltrator. He's trying to find a middle ground for peace,
Right.
being on the opposite side.
And so when you were looking at a role-playing game, how many of the achievers are going to be satisfied by the ending of the story?
Yeah.
Do they feel they achieved what they wanted to in the case of, well, we've killed the big bad boss?
But at cost.
Yeah. Is the war still happening?
Is it a full victory or is it a Pyrrhic victory?
Right.
Pyrrhic victory means, yeah, you still won, but at a severe cost. I feel with Spike's family, if I'm given a Pyrrhic victory in Spike's family, I feel like someone pulled the rug from under me. Because it's supposed to be a comedy.
Right. Yeah. To find out that Lloyd succeeded in his mission but died at the end, or lost, or they separate and they lose their family.
Yeah.
That's not a good ending.
It's not.
And we have to look in those goals of the achievers and the other players and determine what kind of ending we want.
Yeah.
Because all stories, short or long, have an ending. And the most unsatisfied ending is the we just never came back to finish it. We left it on the cliffhanger.
That's a pretty high dissatisfaction. For me, that isn't. Sometimes I'd rather be left wanting than where for me, it is more unsatisfying to get an ending where it is closed, but hey there, cake. Hey there, cake. I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation before that. I apologize, but welcome back.
It's Kira Neko.
And I said I'm going to butcher it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't butcher it, so it's good. Kira Neko cake.
I feel like
it's a cake made of black cats.
It is more unsatisfying when I feel like the people who ended the story did not understand the story. I'll give you a perfect example. Game of Thrones.
That's because the writer wasn't involved in the ending of that story.
Yeah, as I said, the writers at the end were not the writers at the beginning. They didn't understand what they were writing.
Yeah.
And mind you, I also feel like, at least half of the showrunners for Game of Thrones also showran X-Men Wolverine Origins, which for me is up there with one of the worst comic book movies ever made. I feel like the people who are involved in the creation of that movie should have. You're not allowed to touch comic book movies ever again.
Well, they showed their complete disrespect for some of the characters.
Yes.
It was like, oh, we're finally going to let you play Deadpool, but you're not allowed to talk.
Yeah. Like, really? Do you not know why this is popular? Oh, we're going to make Sabretooth and Wolverine brothers. Yes, there was a storyline where they were hinting at Sabretooth being related to Wolverine, but it wasn't a brother thing. It was Sabretooth gaslighting Wolverine and making Wolverine believe that Sabretooth was his father. Because Sabretooth is one evil, manipulative.
I almost brought up something, but you haven't seen that movie yet.
Yeah. For me, a good Sabretooth characterization, yeah, he is brutal, he is vicious, but the worst things that he does is manipulate people.
So what I was describing in my own case, where they just didn't get back to the ending, was like in one of my games, I was playing Shadowrun.
Yeah.
And I was playing a Batman-like character. I had all the gadgets. We ended the session with my character hanging from a helicopter.
Yeah.
That was 30 years ago.
Still hanging on?
Yeah, he's still hanging on there somehow. That story is never going to be ended.
And
and television shows do this too. And on
a cliffhanger.
And then be canceled.
And I've gotten, as a consumer of a lot of media and a lot of nerd media, I've just come to accept that, yeah, sometimes I'm given a cliffhanger and that's where it ends. That's where it ends. There is going to be no, reconciliation there. I would rather that than given an ending where they really don't know what was going on.
Yeah, there's definitely times where a story isn't genuine to the actual story there. You look, and I love the writer.
Yeah.
Ari
Salvador?
No, Tony. Tony. He wrote Candlewick. Great artist. Great storyteller. They made a movie out of that book, and you probably heard me say this before. The some stories, they changed the names and the locations to protect the innocent. And in this case, that's the only thing they kept.
Jeez.
It wasn't true to the story. They the goblins suddenly gained an allergy to tomato sauce, which was not part of the story. In fact, the whole plot was not the plot of the story, the original story, but the names were the same. So I don't know what to do about things like that. But the only thing I can do is when I'm writing a story, to try to be true to the story that I'm writing.
Yeah.
It's easier when it's my own work.
Yes.
Then I don't have anybody to blame but me. But when you're trying to adapt a story, like I was doing with the travel story, where you had to get to the other location, the long walk.
The long walk.
Yeah, the Native American story. How do I stay true to what was happening? Give you an idea how horrible it was without turning people away from the table.
Right.
You don't want to write a story about the Dahmer party with graphic details.
unless you from the get-go set that up as what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I go into watching House of a Thousand Corpses, that's what I expect.
Right.
I'm not if I'm going to go watch My Little Pony, and I will watch both of them. I have a range in media that I consume. I'm not expecting House of a Thousand Corpses in My Little Pony.
Right, and you're definitely not expecting My Little Pony to show up.
That is, unless I'm watching Happy Tree Friends, in which case, well, it's Happy Tree Friends. That's what you expect. You expect horrible things in Happy Tree Friends.
Yeah. The only part true of that title is the trees.
Yeah. But and this is why I feel I would rather not be given any closure than being given an insincere
Or rushed.
closure, because then it's obvious you guys were rushing it. You're trying to get to the end. No, just right. Don't give me the false hope. Just, how many shows have you seen where it's like, yeah, it is great up until this point, ignored after this?
Yeah.
How many Fox TV series can we describe that fall into that pattern? Where it is great. Oh, look, there's another one, Supernatural. Where, it's great.
You know what they call that?
What?
Jumping the shark.
Yeah, don't jump the shark.
And jumping the shark came
From the Fonz.
so in a television series called Happy Days, which had more spin-offs than you could imagine.
Mork and Mindy was one of them.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Mork and Mindy, then there was the Laverne and Shirley.
Mm-hmm.
And there was Chachi Loves Judy or Jody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was others, and then there were spin-offs from some of the spin-offs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like anyways, it doesn't matter. Let's not get back on track. So
Yep. Happy Days.
there it is. Fonzie jumps over a live shark while on water skis.
Yes.
And that's when they say that's when the show literally went off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
It had been there too long, and it needed to come to a close.
Yeah.
And
I want to get to the point where you're jumping the shark.
there is a lot. I don't know about a lot, but there are a significant number of shows that go on too long, where they've run out of ideas, and they're just trying to keep it alive to bring in money.
Yeah.
While there are other shows where the writers and them said, "We have told the story.
Yeah.
We're done."
Mm-hmm. I prefer it when the storytellers are able to tell a complete story. I don't always like it when that ending is rushed. Owl House, for example. I know that that although they got to the end, they probably needed another season. I know that it was Disney rushed it.
Yeah, Disney had the huge collection of very positive message shows that were all in the same, and too many people saw a threat in the positive messages,
Yeah.
like LBG
LGBT, yeah.
and other things. So Owl House and all those super wonderful, well-written, artistic shows were canceled for politics.
Same thing with the Steven Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't get the endings we deserved. We didn't get the story we deserved. There is, now, I don't plug things a lot, but I am going to tell you, there is a guy called Morning Mark. He's on Twitter. He's on the photo one. Instagram.
Instagram. I'm familiar with Morning Mark. He has a lot of like daily comics that continue, his own fan headcanon of Owl House.
Yeah.
I enjoy a lot of his stuff.
And a lot of his stuff, it should be canon. There's no question. He's got the stories down. And
He understands the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The only thing I'd wish is I need a printed version where each of the stories are in order.
Yes. Yes.
Because there's a lot of skipping around.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of creators on Twitter that have produced comics where we need a chronological order for this. I absolutely love it, but we need an order.
Yeah. Owl House is the only one I tolerate.
Really?
For the ones that are out of order and
okay.
Yeah, jumping around in the stories.
Well, the way he produced it, it's very episodic.
Yeah,
that's why I can work that way.
Yeah, I guess that's why it works, but I can't tolerate a lot of the other ones because like they're trying to do one for Gravity Falls. There's somebody else that's trying to do one for Gravity Falls, and I read it and I just don't feel it, so I stop.
Yeah. I've sometimes it is difficult to even if you have a passion for a project to recreate that, to catch the lightning in the bottle again.
Yeah, I think Morning Mark did.
Yeah, I think he has a very good way of expressing that level of not just creativity but the vibe, and that's the only way I can describe it, the vibe of Owl House.
Yeah.
Where you have a whole bunch of quirky characters in this really, monster world, and they're just doing their own thing.
I think what we need to bring this back to is for role-playing games is the fact that role-playing games are a medium for telling stories.
Yes.
And the same thoughts and patterns when you're creating a role-playing game are the same for a cartoon, for a novel, a movie, a poem, a song. If you're doing it for the purposes of telling a story. Now, yes, the old days we did dungeon crawls.
Yes.
That didn't have any story, didn't have any logic. Why is we have Monster A who loves to eat Monster B across the room from each other? And
there is
how is this thing not full up to the roof in feces?
Yeah, and I've challenged myself sometimes of getting for example, a randomly generated dungeon and try to figure out the story that is happening in that dungeon. It is a creative what is it? Exercise. It is a creative exercise that I've sometimes gone through. But not everyone's there for the story.
The one game from the early days that I really felt got the mix of the idea of a story. It's a sandbox thing. But this was one of the first attempts of putting an ecology to the dungeon. Even though this is a dungeon in the definition of location as opposed to the dungeon as a place you keep prisoners.
Yeah.
But the dungeon was the Caves of Chaos.
Okay.
And in the Caves of Chaos, it's written into the descriptions, the interactions that the different residents of the caves have with each other. These person don't like these people do like these people. This person is keeping these people and those people from separated. What happens when you clear out a dungeon, how long it takes to refill that, that part of the cave system, and those kind of things. But I think that the final statement I want to say about this topic for achievers is that all of these elements, whether it's the combat, the social, the exploration, and the treasures and goals that you accomplish, the best part of it is telling the story.
Yeah. And sometimes what players want is reminders of that story or specific parts of that story.
Right.
And I feel like that is no matter how that comes about, that is, I feel worthwhile for the achievers.
So in 15 minutes, we
Yep.
will come back and we will discuss a couple things that we're going to unbox.
Yep.
Just a couple things, actually. Again, we're trying to not open up the old grocery store of objects that I may have or may not have come
Yeah.
across. And we're going to go into a little more deep with those. And before that, we're going to do traps and riddles. And you're going to solve another conundrum I set before you. And I'm not sure how easy this one's going to be to figure out. So good luck.
Okay. So basically, with those, I either get through it very, very quickly, or I utterly fail. I don't think there's any in between.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see about this one.
And we'll see you in 15 minutes.
Bye.
Welcome back to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivy, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, which means we need donations. So go to rpgresearch.com/donate. Try to keep us on the air, and more importantly, try to keep our community programs running, whether we do it here at the community center or we go ahead and do them all at libraries, community centers, prisons, or anywhere else that they need us.
yes. Now I see that Karoneko Cake, I'm hoping I pronounced that properly, has some Dratini's taking notes. I hope those notes will help me with this Challenge of Champions.
Now,
Okay.
so this is the 9th scenario out of 1,000,000, or however
notes
many we
ready.
keep going.
Uh-huh.
Just to remind the audience, Challenge of Champions 2 was written by Jonathan M. Richards, artwork by Bragg Morales. Dungeon Magazine's July/August 1993 issue, number 69, volume 12, number 3. And this is scenario number 9.
Number 9. Okay.
Name of the scenario is Space and Post.
Space and Post.
Father Crispin sends you through a door at the end of the corridor. There you find a small room where you can clean off the mud
Uh-huh.
from the previous. You are soon met by Mercurio, the guild wizard in charge of the next scenario.
Uh-huh.
He asked you to choose among yourselves a single volunteer.
Uh-huh. To do what?
He does not say why he needs one or what the volunteer must do.
Okay, I'm gonna choose the druid.
All right. A volunteer chosen, Mercurio leads you into an enclosure outdoors, so you can look at your picture.
Uh-huh.
The area is divided by an 18-foot wide gap that looks bottomless. Right in the middle of this open space is a post capped with an upright metal ring that can swivel around.
That's in the middle of this?
Yep.
Okay.
And the top of the pole is 6 foot higher than the level of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Mercurio hands you 2 10-foot poles. You notice that one is made of wood, one of metal, and that the metal one has a knob on it the size of a fist. He also shows you a sealed wooden crate, about 1 foot by 1 foot by 2 feet. The rope handles on the ends. Then he departs the room with the volunteer, and they shortly reappear on the other side of the area, on the far side of the pit.
Mm-hmm.
To the volunteer, he gives a pair of slippers of spider climbing.
Okay.
You got all your equipment down?
Okay, I have metal pole, wooden pole. The metal pole has a knob about the size of a fist, and we've got a crate. What size is the crate with the rope?
1 by 1 by 2.
1 by 1 by 2, and that's feet.
Yep.
Okay.
And once the whistle sounds, Mercurio reads the task briefing. The object of the scenario is for you 3 to cross over to the same side as your partner. Furthermore, you must bring the crate of medical supplies with you.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
Okay. So I have to basically get over an 18-foot gap, of which there's a 6-foot tall pole in the center. So in the middle of 18 feet, that's going to be 9 feet. That is just short of the 10-foot poles. Okay. Huh. And I have slippers of spider climb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. that fence that I'm seeing is beyond the side, right?
Yes?
Okay, so I don't need to go over that fence.
Nope, you just have to get to that shelf that's in front of the fence. The fence is there so other people can't peek into the area.
Okay,
We don't need no cheaters here.
so I just need 3 people. And who has all the equipment? Is it my druid or the other 3?
Well, you have the poles on the side with you in the box, and the druid is on the opposite side with the spider slippers.
Oh, okay. 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 Half of 18 is 9 feet. So the druid's going to put on the slippers of spider climb.
Got it?
Okay. And still need to get that medical supply stuff. The rogue is going to check to see if that case of medical supplies is locked.
It is.
Good. Okay. Good. 10 feet, 10 feet, 2 feet. Okay. The druid is going to, put on the slippers, already has it on, and check to see if the wall is going to maintain them being able to stand on the side of that wall.
Yes.
Okay.
He climbs up the side of the wall, and it's an 18-foot tall wall.
Oh, no, not the wall. Well, the pit.
Fence.
The pit.
Oh, the pit itself?
The pit.
Yes.
Okay. Because we just need to get to the other side of the pit, not necessarily the wall.
Okay. Well, the pit looks bottomless.
Yes.
And you only have 12 minutes to get to the bottom of the bottomless pit, if that's how you're planning on crossing.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
No. I am trying to use the druid as an extension.
Okay.
Yes. So, if the druid stands on the side of the ledge and goes like this, that is about would they be able to reach the pole, the metal pole, if it's held out?
Well, since the pole is 10 feet long, and as you said, halfway is 9 feet, the pole will go more than halfway.
Yeah. So let's say that the druid is 6 feet tall.
So he has a reach of
3 feet with the arms.
3
feet plus, yeah, that's 9 feet. Just enough to grab on to
barely.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful.
If you can make the dex check.
Just holding on to it. The rogue is going to use that metal pole to slide the medical case to the druid.
Okay.
Now the druid has the medical case and climbs back on and drops that down.
Sure.
Yeah. That is 1. Now for the other 3.
I'll tell you what, you had me nervous there.
You thought I was going to climb down?
No, I thought you were going to do something even worse.
Oh, okay. So,
yes, there was a whistle. I specifically stated when the whistle blows.
You
didn't hear it.
You didn't. It's okay. Okay. Now that the druid has gotten the medical supplies over, they're going to use the wooden and the metal pole and see if we can reach the druid's arms and grab onto them. Okay. Would they be able to rest the edges of the pole with the druid holding onto it on the side that the other 3 companions are on?
Well, it would be able to touch the edge, but it's not going to produce a secure posting there. It's not going to, remember, it's 18 exactly.
So it is, yeah, it's not going to be secure. Okay. So, let's see. that metal, that 6-foot pole,
What 6-foot pole?
that is in the center of the pit.
Okay, the pole that is 6 feet above the
Yes.
the hole. Okay, yeah.
Okay. You said that there is something, a ring at the top?
Yep, and you've been told it swivels.
It swivels. Okay. Let's see here. The druid is going to take the metal pole and see if they can get, slide that metal pole through the center of that swivel thing.
Okay.
Yes.
So he lines it up, and he's now got the tip of it through the hole.
Yes.
Okay, now what do you want to do?
Okay. Going to use the wooden pole to adjust the metal pole so that
Did you throw these poles across to him?
no, the druid has been using, basically going like this.
And grabbing hold of it, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's done it the hard way. I mean, it would almost been easier to throw them like spears to the other side, but okay.
So I'm hoping to see if that fist-like thing will stop that metal pole from going through the circular thing.
Okay, so
Basically trying to go like that.
are you taking the fist thing and butting it up like this, or are you coming in from the other
So
end?
coming in from the other end.
Okay, so what are you going to do? Shove it across?
No. I'm going to lightly push it with wooden pole, so that if it doesn't look like it's going to fit, we're not losing that metal pole.
Okay, the metal pole looks like it will slide through the ring.
Even the fist thing will slide through the ring,
No.
so it will stop.
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay. So now that is like that, that should put the metal pole on the opposite side
Mm-hmm.
where the other 3 companions are.
Right?
And they should be, it should be 10 feet out, so it should be hanging out.
Yeah.
So the rogue is
At least 6 inches.
at least 6 inches. So the rogue is going to, grab onto that and see if holding onto that while it's being suspended by this metal pole, if it will support his weight. Can he hang?
Yes, he can hang.
He can hang. Okay, with him hanging, and the druid is going to come out of the hole, holding onto the wooden pole. The fighter is going to push the rogue hanging onto the metal pole to swing across, and the druid is going to stop him with the wooden pole.
Smack. And
then assist him off of the metal pole.
okay.
Then take the wooden pole and knock it back over so that the wizard can do the same, and then the fighter will just have to run and grab and swing across. And I believe that means all 4 people are on the other side. That is what we were trying to do, right?
Yes. All right, stop the clock.
Okay. Did I succeed?
Solution. 3 PCs put
Yeah.
the metal pole through the ring on top of the pole and push it all the way through with the wooden pole.
Uh-huh.
The volunteer puts on the slippers, grabs the pole, and climbs over to the post. There he swivels the ring so that the metal pole is facing his 3 partners. Once one PC grabs it and volunteer swivels it over to his side, and the PC jumps off. Your way of getting it to swivel is just as legitimate as having some guy standing on the pole and doing the swiveling there.
The thing is, I didn't see a way for me to actually get up onto the pole.
Just you would walk across the first pole, and then
I didn't expect that thing to be able to hold my weight.
and you tested it and everything. Your method doesn't require somebody to use the slippers, and other than the part where you overly complexed the transference of the box,
Yeah.
because you could have done it just like you did with the people
Yeah, I figured that out before I figured out how to get people. Yeah.
So, you were able to accomplish this. Now, normally there'd be some die rolls and stuff like that, but that's not the point here. We don't like great ideas, bad rolls.
This is all about you trying to come up with great ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you did good on that.
Okay, that one was tough.
It was tough, and I wasn't sure whether or not you was going to, because it didn't feel like it was an all or nothing thing. You
Yeah.
could get halfway through and still flub it.
Yeah, for me, it came down to whether or not that fist-sized knob was going to stop the metal pole from continue to. Basically, I wanted it to work as a spinny thing.
Yeah.
If it was going to slide out, then I didn't want to lose the metal pole because it's the only thing that was going to be able to realistically, hold up someone's weight.
Yep.
I wasn't going to trust that with the wooden pole.
And you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's take these down.
Yeah. Hand this back to you.
Yep, we didn't need these anyways.
Keep the dragons.
Dragons can stay where they are.
Yes. Moving on to unboxing. Now,
Technically, there's no box for this first object.
you came across this. It is the Time Magazine Dungeons and Dragons, the game that changed the world. Now, I believe that Time is using a bit of a hyperbole here, but
I disagree. I don't think it's hyperbole. I think it's, it's, what's the saying? It's as we know it. Change the world as we know it. And it did have a global impact.
the only reason why I say that it's a bit of hyperbole is because we, as RPG research, we've come across enough cultures in the world where role-playing games are a new concept.
Yeah, there's still a new.
If it's new, it hasn't changed them yet.
I think that's picking a nit that is already gone.
Yeah. Karanaku Cake, I think your organization should have been in the magazine, and I would have liked that, but I don't think they. We sometimes have an issue, with the
Marketing.
Well, with marketing, yes, but people large times even knowing about us.
So the main people that they did mention,
Yeah.
one is a friend of the company,
Yeah.
and the other one is some unknown therapist, unknown to me.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm guaranteeing that in her local area, lots of people know who she is.
Yeah, and hopefully she is well known in her area and doing good work.
And it'll be more in there. So
We have let's see what they have some wonderful art here, but I actually like the little things here with the dice. But what articles do they have? They have
a lot of these pictures were provided by Wizards of the Coast.
yes. So we have Origins, the game's journey, mapping the story's roots, D&D on the screen, the Titans of Tabletop, Stranger Things stories. So they're getting into the
Right. Now, I want to point out something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a deep dive.
No, that isn't going to be a deep dive.
This is a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So they talk about two therapists at the end, period.
Okay. Do you know which two therapists? You said one of them is, which one is a friend of the company?
Connell.
Connell?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is she, what do we know her for? I believe she does the...
Well, she wrote a nice little book called, it's a therapist handbook kind of thing. Let me get the right title.
You read it? Because this is... John, kind of ambushed me with this a day or two ago, and I'm yet to be able to even read it. What were your thoughts on the articles?
So, breaking stigmas. Gotta find the right name. Charlene McPherson, founder of Nerd Adventure Therapy 20 in Baltimore.
Okay, Baltimore.
And the other person that they talk about is Connell, and I'm going to try to find the name of her book.
knows the other therapist. You met her in another group. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Connell, where is the name of the book?
I'm going to have to look, into her to see.
Oh, Greek Therapeutics and Game to Grow were also provided.
We're familiar with Game to Grow, and you said Geek Therapeutics.
Yep, we know about all of them.
We know about them as well.
Yep, they didn't mention us, of course.
I like the sentiment that you feel like we got robbed. We know some of the reach that we have, and we don't have the reach that we would like. But I'm happy that the therapeutic side of role-playing games are being highlighted, because I feel like it helps fight back about the narrative that is long-standing that role-playing games are bad. So, I'm not going to.
Oh, here it is.
Any positive therapeutic groups that they found.
Megan Connell, author of Tabletop Role-Playing Therapy, a guide for the clinical game master, and we do have a copy of that over there.
Yeah.
Because we do reference each other's work. That's how it works. Our idea is that rising tide floats all boats.
Right.
Some of the groups believe that my boat's the only one that matters.
And I have seen that type of mentality in some groups. We really do believe that, and it's one of the reasons why we
Dialogue and silver cowers.
Free information is we want people to have access to it. You don't want to say, we have this great information, but pay us money to get this information. No.
I am very glad that they even have a section in here, which is approximately a third of the magazine.
Oh, nice.
Dedicated to the benefits of role-playing games, specifically the therapeutic. They don't go into the educational benefits at all in that particular article.
Yeah, an educated and strong and supportive community. That is something that I personally, I strongly believe in. I absolutely believe in it. It's one of the reasons why I love working with RPG research, because there's the same mentality. And this is something that I feel like, because I'm a part of a lot of different communities, I feel just general education and supporting an educated community is a healthier community. You get better problem solving, better resource management, better utilizing of those resources when a community is educated.
Right.
And to pitch back to one of the things that we were talking about earlier, where whether or not certain people can recognize quality, that I believe comes from proper media literacy, more than just saying, this story or media has this interpretation, but being able to do critical thinking on how to break down the concepts. And I feel like we need more of that, not just in RPGs, but across the board.
You do realize you're just a pair of lips on camera, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did shave up my goatee today.
Try to make it look nice.
I do try.
You got to have these little twisters here.
I cannot do my facial hair will never allow me to do that. But yeah, I absolutely believe in supporting the wider community.
So topics that they cover in here is the history of role-playing games,
which I feel is always important. You got to know where you come from.
Right. And then they go into media representation of the game.
Yes.
Then they go into partnership items like the Lego 50th anniversary set with its module.
Yeah.
The various things in there. And then finally they talk about the healing art of role-playing games.
Oh, this is some 4th edition, artwork.
No, actually, that is from the Essentials.
Oh, you know what? Because it was close enough to 4th edition, that's why I feel like it looks like it. Yeah. It reminds me of...
That was the second so-called starter set for 5th edition.
There goes my credentials.
You just lost your nerd card.
I have so many other nerd cards that I'll.
But actually,
Don't actually me. Try not to gatekeep here.
well, if we don't keep the gate, it's going to break. No.
Yeah, I feel like there's a difference between gatekeeping and quality control.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But you know, there's some good representation of artwork. Oh, that's an interesting beholder.
Yeah, almost looks like there's an eye in the mouth.
Yeah. But I'm definitely going to have. Well, it's also they're doing this for the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons, which would mean because Dungeons and Dragons is the first role-playing game. This would be the 50th anniversary of role-playing games.
Yep, I personally got this one at Barnes & Noble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure anywhere that Time magazines are being sold is where you could get them.
Yeah.
You might even be able to get them online.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're kind of new-fashioned like that.
Dragons that heal, the power of dice. And you don't necessarily have to use dice. You just need a randomization agent.
Yep.
I know that in, for example, Vampire the Masquerade, when we're doing LARPing, a lot of it is rock, paper, scissors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yay, D&D is older than me, but not older than me. I have been playing Dungeons and Dragons longer than everybody in this room has been alive, and I have also been married longer than everybody in this room has been alive.
Well, yeah, go ahead and hold that over us.
I'm just saying you guys are all young.
So if you have not picked this up, it sounds like it's at least a decent read, and covers a lot of the positive aspects of Dungeons and Dragons, and I feel like that is important, especially against much of the narrative that we historically have had with role-playing games.
Okay. Now, spoiler alert, there are many, at least a couple documentaries coming out this year about Dungeons and Dragons, the history of the modern aspect of it, and I promise you we won't be mentioned in any of them.
Yeah. Maybe it should be a bingo card, like right in the center if RPG research is even mentioned. If they even know who we are.
You get 4 squares if we even get mentioned once.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. One of the things after we get our get rid of the center, if that's what happens, but then we can focus on making ourselves more available to the public. I've done interviews. I've done an interview in Poland once.
I hope the you guys are making me pull out my hair. It isn't in a bad way.
I don't know. I think Karen Nickelcake is about to go bald. If they weren't already.
I don't want to cause bad stress.
So the next item up for bids.
Not for bids.
Yeah. Send us all your money and we'll talk about it. All right. We have Call of Cthulhu, which is one of my favorite games. Probably my most favorite non-Dungeons and Dragons game.
You do love yourself some steampunk, and Call of Cthulhu falls squarely into that.
It kind of does.
Not squarely, but
Call of Cthulhu by Gaslight definitely follows into that. I haven't gotten to play much of the Gaslight, Cthulhu by Gaslight, but this is for the regular deck. They have a second edition out already. And I don't know what the difference is, but these cards are reference cards.
okay.
So one of them you have there is pick up one and read me the title, and I'll tell you what it's supposed to be about.
I'll grab the last one if I'll grab that one because it doesn't want to stand. This is the Keeper deck, the Weapons and Artifact deck.
Okay, weapons and artifact decks are the stats for your. So I have a gun, and or a knife or a magic symbol. Then this will be the stats of it. We have the read me the title of another one.
Okay. Let's do this one. This is the Phobia deck.
Okay, as you play in the game, you can gain insanity.
Yes.
And insanity,
It's one of the major things in Call of Cthulhu.
right, usually manifests as either a phobia or a mania. This is not to say that it's a dig at people with mental illness. This was written, Call of Cthulhu was written in the 1930s, 1920s. Also, there are Call of Cthulhu type games that reference corruption instead. Can I see those cards?
This is the weapons.
Yep. So,
Sure.
read me another title.
That was the Phobia deck. And, getting back to the Phobia thing, my first introduction to Call of Cthulhu made me understand that the expectations of the game is, by the end of the story, you're either dead or insane.
All right. So this, for example, this card here, which you'll bring up there, is the 12 gauge shotgun. This is from the items deck. The next card is a 20 gauge. There's a 22 short automatic. And then it just keeps getting bigger, or, pistols and stuff like that.
Yeah. This one that I'm grabbing is the Curious Characters deck, which is right here.
Well, on the back of those cards, there are the game stats. So flip it back around there. You can see the game stats for it, a little descriptor, just to give you some in-world feelings.
So with the Curious Character ones, ooh, I like these pictures.
Okay, the curious characters are your NPCs, or if necessary, it's a quick grab for a new player character.
That is some nice old school type pictures here.
Yeah, good old-fashioned black and whites.
Yes.
I like that the weapons tell us what time period. So you don't accidentally use an M16 in a 1930s event.
Let's see if...
But they've
There's
got...
a lot of men here. Oh, there we go.
Just... glare on there. Okay, yeah. And so why don't you read the back of one of those cards? Let's choose her and just give us a description.
So this is Hester Brewmaker, who's a librarian. Description: friendly eyes, modest, plain. Some spit coming up. Wrong way.
Stop dying.
No dying on me. Sorry.
If you're gonna die, you have to be off the property.
Yes. Ideology believes. Regular churchgoer. She's a vegetarian. Treasured item: a rare volume of Da Vinci's illustrations and plans, and her cat, Mr. Paws. So I'm a huge fan of Da Vinci. I would absolutely love to get a copy of what is this, Disney? Prince has a habit of saying science is the captain, practice the soldier. Interesting. Secret. Hester is not consciously aware that she is an accomplished dreamer who has had many adventures in the dreamlands with a companion, Mr. Paws.
Wow, that's setting up a story.
Yeah. An amnesiac Alice in Wonderland. Huh.
Yeah, she doesn't remember her trip to Wonderland.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so we have an equipment deck and we have a personality deck, and I really like the line there. Look at the one you have right there. Is that a nurse?
Yes, it is a nurse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, back in my mother's day, you could tell what school the nurse graduated from by their hat.
Oh yeah.
And the blue capes were mandatory. My wife, who's only in her very young 50s, wore a candy striper uniform.
Huh. Oh, now this one, I just saw the secret. I feel potentially a bit sinister here with Jenny O'Reilly, who's a nurse. Secret. She firmly believes that sinful behavior causes illness and woe.
No.
Oh, that can affect a lot of motivation and and how someone plays out their role as a nurse.
Now, these are meant to be NPCs, but they are balanced enough that you can use them as a player character and flesh out the rest of your character sheet.
Yeah.
There's a disclaimer on there.
Disclaimer. Well, there's the credits, but disclaimer is right here. It's got a little X or gram.
Well, it's a arcane sign.
Yes. Disclaimer. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, businesses, places, events, and incidents are either the product of the author's imagination or used in a fictitious manner. And resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. No offense to anyone living or dead is intended.
I think there was a disclaimer for the weapons as well.
Yeah.
Probably not the same one because it's not dealing with people. Wood X. A disclaimer. Work of fiction, names, characters, business. It is exactly the same.
Okay, so I don't think we have to go through all of the disclaimers.
Nope.
We haven't popped open the Phobias deck. So, and then there's also, that's Phobias deck. What is this? This is Unfortunate Events.
Right. Now, in some games, they're called interrupt cards or intrusion decks. And so that's what these are basically, little story elements to add a little bit more into it. Oh, there's so many different cool things in the weapons, including mystical things and like crystals, but also things like Myogo web armor.
So we have, in terms of the unfortunate events, we have bad dreams. Now this makes me, with the name Unfortunate Events, I'm wondering if anyone has thought of doing like a Lemony Snicket's through, by way of Call of Cthulhu.
Terrifying concept because it would probably put a whole difference to the line. She's a biter.
Ooh. Oh no.
The baby's actually a ghoul.
The squid was bad. Maybe that sushi was a bit too fresh.
Yeah, you're supposed to kill it before you eat it. But a good gawk is better warm and wiggling.
Being watched. I'm gonna cut to
Yeah, take one and read it.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, this one I think has potential. Okay. This is Strange Melody. Can you hear it too? You begin to hear a strange, undulating melody. Looking around, you cannot find its source. Wherever you go, the melody is there. You quickly realize the melody is not coming from an outside source. It's in your head. Nothing you do seems to quell or diminish its maddening, repeating tone. Lose one sanity point each day until directed otherwise by the keeper. So this is like a really bad earworm.
Okay, now there are cards in the first two that we looked at, and they say how to use this deck. Now, it's kind of obvious how you use the NPC deck. It's kind of obvious how you use the weapons deck. But how are you supposed to use these?
The unfortunate events?
Yes.
So we have this card, and it goes to both sides. So I will start with how to use the unfortunate events deck. Let's continue. Sorry. The keeper may choose to present a player with a card from this deck during play. Player receiving the card should apply its effects to their investigator immediately. Keepers are advised to pre-select appropriate event cards rather than drawing randomly. Okay.
Okay, so I don't want to just pick and choose. I should find one that's appropriate to the scenario
Right.
and then inflict it.
Yes. So, oh, there's one. And this one I think would be able to fit anywhere. It's a note in a book.
Sure, anytime you're doing the library stuff.
Yeah, something fell out of the book. While looking through the books, an old piece of paper falls out of one of them. On the aged yellow paper is written a set of coordinates and nothing else. The keeper will advise you of what you discover if you decide to find out what is at the coordinates. I feel like this is a very good way to get the party back on track.
Sure, you
Yes.
need to be going to this island, but we like where we're at.
The sign points to the island. But what does the shopkeep saying? The shopkeep is telling you, go to the island.
All right, so what's our last one we have here?
Let me see here. The last one.
And I will be using these in my Call of Cthulhu campaigns. Now,
This is, we didn't crack open this one yet. This is the
Yep.
Phobias deck.
again, is it suggesting that these be randomized, or does it suggest you pick one for the situation?
How to use the Phobias deck. And we have a list of Phobias here. How to use the Phobias deck. The keeper may choose to present a player with a card from this deck when their investigator goes insane. So not just a single point of insanity.
Oh, no. Yeah, you have to act, you know, if you go insane, we have to know what happened. And there's ways to do it, but this is one of the easiest ways because I can hand you the word, the definition, and what happens to you. But go ahead, continue
The
reading.
player receiving the card should apply its effect to their investigator immediately. The keeper must select or choose a card randomly, although expect and the unexpected if choosing randomly. There are 4 types of cards within the Phobia deck. Bout of Madness, real-time cards, Bout of Madness summary cards, Phobia cards, and Mania cards. The Bout of Madness real-time cards. I guess it doesn't really say what they're like, just how they're implemented. But manias and philias. Characters with manias may exhibit extreme symptoms, changing the mania into a philia, effectively an intense and overwhelming love or intense desire for the focus of the mania.
Okay, so that's what a philia is: a desire or a love for an object. A phobia is a fear or loathing of the object.
Yes.
Mania is hyper and excitable, while depression is the opposite.
We've got Bibliomania.
That's me.
Oh, wow, it does have the fez. And the twirled mustache.
And I'm a bibliomaniac.
Yes.
So, why don't you read that description?
Why not?
Since I'm a star.
Lovely books. I want them all. This sounds like you.
Yeah, kind of. Almost.
You have an unhealthy obsession with books.
It's not unhealthy. I haven't died yet.
Speaking as a bibliomania, a form of obsessive compulsive disorder which involves collecting as many books as you can. Weren't we talking about collecting earlier?
Yep.
I feel like there's a conspiracy here.
It's an achievement.
Perhaps one book is the object of your compulsion, or it's simply all books. Some strange compulsion makes you want them. Your compulsion to hoard books mostly likely includes buying beyond your means and stealing. At times of
I don't
stress,
steal books.
you want to surround yourself with your books, perhaps frantically reading or obsessively counting the number of volumes you own. Your mania will affect your relationship to the world and others. If anything prevents you from pursuing your mania, or if someone removes your books, you get anxious and suffer from 1 penalty die on all skill rolls until your mania can be indulged. not applicable in combat. The keeper may alter the level of difficulty for certain skill rolls depending on the circumstances and state of the character. Successful use of this psychoanalysis skill allows you to temporarily ignore the mania and its most severe side effects.
Yeah, those yeah, thank goodness. And there's my character again. I should have brought my mini up. I have it downstairs.
You want me to run and go get it?
Nah, we're almost out of session here.
Okay.
So I do want to point out the usefulness of these cards, because this information is available in the books.
Yeah.
But it's faster to find it here, and it's easier to, instead of telling somebody and reading the whole thing to them, I hand them a card and they can write it down or photograph it with their phone, whatever they want to do.
Or if they have like proper, you know, character folders, keep it in the folder.
Well, that depends. I mean,
Depends on the nature of the game.
well, also, yeah, if your character sheets are staying with me,
Yeah.
I'll let you keep the card with it. But if your character sheets are leaving the house, I'm going to insist the card stays with me.
Right.
Or in this case, at RPG Research. Because this is RPG Research property, not my personal property, no matter how I feel about the entire RPG Research collection.
Is this possibly an aspect of the Bibliomania?
Yeah, that I feel the entire collection is actually mine. And I'm just sharing it with Hawk and RPG Research? Yeah. No, I'm not admitting to that.
You're
Anyways,
looking mighty suspicious there, John.
that's just my face. I have resting suspicious face.
Uh-huh. A likely story.
So you'll note by our link that we provided that it says Call of Cthulhu Keeper Decks 2nd Edition. There is another edition of these. It's for the 7th edition of the Call of Cthulhu rules.
Yeah.
Just these are. I'm not sure what's been changed, but the new decks are out, and you really can't get this deck that I have in front of me anymore except on the secondary market. I need to find out if anybody knows the difference between the 1st edition and the 2nd edition of the deck. Let us know. I'll do some research anyways. The artwork on the covers are different. If you click on that link, you'll see that. For example, the photo of the NPCs aren't photos.
Oh, what are they?
Well, on the cover of the box, it's a drawing,
Okay.
just like the other guy right there.
Oh, like,
Yeah.
okay.
So
A photo like that.
yeah, I personally prefer photos of NPCs. They're pretty realistic. Now, how that photo would have been done in 1920, 1930 is it would have been colorized. My mother has a great portrait of her where it was a black and white photo, and they painted her over her photo to give her color, and they did a really miraculous job.
See, for me, I can understand the photo, but it depends on depends on the system, depends on the theme.
For Call of Cthulhu, I would like
Call
a
of
19.
Cthulhu, I think works really, really well with photos.
Yeah.
But you know, unless you're doing like a modern day Call of Cthulhu where everything is a selfie, maybe a selfie picture isn't going to work.
Now, I think that's probably was taken by a professional portrait artist.
No, I mean like, you know, a selfie would still be a portrait, but you know, the theme. Basically, I'm making an argument for consistent themes. You know.
Now, I don't think we opened up. Well, what do we have are from left to right. What are they?
We have the unfortunate, on left to right. Yeah, this is my left. Okay, that is the weapons.
Okay, weapon and artifacts. Okay,
Yeah, we opened that one.
what's next?
Next is the phobias deck.
Okay,
next, after that, is the curious character, curious characters deck,
Okay.
and then we have the unfortunate events deck.
All right. So, what do you think would be considered missing from that? Can you show this picture on the screen, by the way?
I can try.
I don't know if we can do that without causing too much problems. But I do want to show the difference in the artwork on the second edition decks. I actually should have a... No, I don't have a PDF of that because I haven't bought it.
This is... Oh, there's the mouse.
You can just spread your fingers across, make it bigger. Okay, now use the arrow buttons to slide it the other way.
There we go. I can
And
figure this out.
you can see the difference in font. You can see the difference in the artwork. As you can see, the character deck is got a drawing instead of a photograph. You know, it's all different art. But what you don't see there is monsters.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a fifth deck, which is monsters.
Let's not have me try and do this backwards. Oh yeah, there's a fifth one. Let's see here. Where are we?
Now those I think are just illustrations of the ones above you.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Yeah.
That is the curious characters, unfortunate events, phobia, weapons.
Right.
So I don't see a monsters one.
Right. Let me have the laptop back and I will pull up the monsters. I have the PDF for the monsters. I will eventually have the actual deck for the monsters. But
we're sorry, Earth.
why didn't you
We
just
know
give
that
me
is janky.
Oh, this is nice. New for second edition, collector decks boasts a new and streamlined card design. Every card of each deck contains all new art, and many cards have updated names, characteristics, and descriptions. And one of the ones that the example here is the Sword Cane.
Earth is going to give us a certain talking to after this.
Let's see if I can find the other one for the image of it.
Let this be a lesson. Don't let the level of jank, be an inhibitor on getting things to work. Sometimes all that matters is that it works. It doesn't have to be pretty.
Where is that? Okay, here it is. It's the Malus Monstrum Keeper deck. And it was on sale for $9.89 instead of $15.
Mm-hmm.
So I went ahead and ordered that.
Okay.
But here you go.
Back to the jank.
Back to the jank. The other thing is they don't have a spell one.
Huh.
The spells are in... There is a book specifically for spells, but there aren't spell cards like you would find with Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And these are monster decks. And I do have the PDF for that that you can look up. But they're additional... I think they're additional monsters. They're not in the Keeper book.
Look, hand this back.
Before our tech crew loses their mind.
Yeah. Earth is gonna crucify us after this.
I didn't lose my mind. It was just temporarily misplaced. This deck provides new layers of plots, enhanced story, and provide quick access to the array of fiendish phones. They got an illustration on the back side of the different monsters, and the front side shows who they are. The Malice Monstrous Companion. Combine these cards with the epic 2-volume tome Malleus Monstrum, the immense Cthulhu Mythos Bestiary, including detailed story information and scenario seeds for all the monsters in the Keeper deck. Once you've decided on the fiends you're using, keep the books on the shelves to bring the cards to the game for a light traveling experience. So instead of having to carry the entire book, you just carry the cards.
Nice.
And the Malleus Monstrum is a slipcase, and it is on sale now for $50 as opposed to $89.99. So instead of $90, it's $50.
That's still a bit pricey for some people.
It's a little pricey for me.
Yeah.
We have had some donations of objects and things for our Call of Cthulhu show when we finally do it. I will definitely be using those during the show.
Yes.
But if you want us to see us using more up-to-date things, or if you want to see your stuff opened up on our set, you can always go to rpgresearch.com/donate to find the details how to do it. Of course, if you want to communicate to us, Nightbot is correct. info@rpgresearch.com. Subject line RPG Talk Show, so that you and I can know what we're talking about. And we will listen, hey, you want to hear more about this aspect of gaming or this aspect of the science behind the gaming
If you just
or
want
education?
to hear us ramble incoherently about certain topics.
Yeah. If you want to see more of us going completely off the rails and starting with topic A and ending with topic Z, but somehow missing Q, let us know.
The chaos does continue. Yes.
That's why we're ending this part with a product by Chaosium.
Yes. Now we have, we do love some Call of Cthulhu. It is a very good system. It has some very useful aspects to, just if you need a you're here for the rambles. Thank you so much. I don't think we could ever stop the rambles.
Yeah. The basic rules, which is what Call of Cthulhu is based on, not basic fantasy role playing, but
Yeah.
basic RPG, BRPG. No, is that what it's called?
I'm not sure, but for me, I like it because you get a lot more grounded characters.
Well, not only that, but if you want, you can easily, and I do mean easily, strip all the mythos out of it.
Yeah.
And have any real world scenario.
Absolutely.
Historical to space on their basic rules that they use.
So
I'm feeling bad right now because I should be able to state off the top of my head what that rule system is called.
So what you're saying is, with the rule system for a Call of Cthulhu, I could recreate let's see here, the Notebook, if I want.
If you want.
Yeah.
I think the Notebook would be easier with the basic role-playing universal game engine by Chaosium than it would be with Dungeons and Dragons.
Absolutely.
Especially the social pieces. But then again, you can also recreate the Notebook fairly well using Bubble Gumshoe.
True. Yeah. And this is one of the things that we like to point out that I may love Dungeons and Dragons. The rules don't necessarily support some of the stories that I want to show.
3.5 in my opinion did. I was, we were able to do futuristic stuff, modern, historical.
I still feel that if I want characters that aren't. I feel like with even third edition, there was an expectation of leveling up, and for grounded characters, I don't necessarily want to feel like they're leveling up.
Well, and that's one thing about the KSCM rules are you just get better at things.
Yeah.
You don't gain a level.
Yeah. So, I think this is the end of our show today.
Yes.
Thank you for traveling with us on our rambling, rambling
along.
Rambling along. Do we have a plan for next week?
Yes.
What's our plan for next week?
Okay, so we're going off on a different topic line. We started with the genres.
Yes.
Then we did the pillars.
Yep.
And next week we were going to do job breaking. No, let's see. What was it we were going to do? Because we're wasn't genres, but something we could talk about a lot of. Not combat, not.
I swear I'm gonna remember it after we clock out.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I think
we talked about it, and we knew we could get months out of it. We could do multiple episodes on each one of the topics.
Thank you so much for the Terrible and subs. Thank you so much.
Pocket Dragon, grab one.
Thank you for the hype train. I greatly appreciate it, and I know John does as well. We all here greatly appreciate it. We try our best. That's all we can do.
Was it story times? What were we?
We're going to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I promise you, by next week we'll know what we're talking about.
We'll have something. I know we just talked about leaving on a cliffhanger. I guess we're just going to leave it on a cliffhanger today.
Except we promise to come back.
We absolutely will. Yes. Until then, have a good night.
And dream well.
Yes.